Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So guys, going to be talking about two cards that were just announced in the OCG. They're both promos and a manga, and unfortunately since they're not in the booster set, there's really no telling when these cards are going to see light in the TCG. The first card I'm talking about is Dragoascension, the Supreme Dragon of the Heavens. It's a light dragon synchro monster, level 10. The attack value is a question mark, so that's going to be dictated by the effect, and its defense is 3,000, definitely liking that because I mean, a 3,000 ass is just annoying to deal with. If you don't believe me, ask Redox. The effect says when this card is successfully Synchro Summoned, this card gains 1,000 attack for each card in your hand. When this card on the field is destroyed by your opponent and sent to the graveyard, if all monsters used to Synchro Summon this card are in your graveyard, you can special summon them all. Monsters special summoned by this effect have their effects negated. So I think that Dragoascension is pretty good. I think that more importantly it's balanced, and I think that it has a good amount of potential. It's not the easiest thing in the world to summon, especially because it's level 10, and I mean realistically how many level 10 synchros do we have in the game? But that's like Fable, Junk Doppel variants, you know, they can easily pump out Quasars and whatnot, so I don't think that they'll have much of a problem, you know, summoning this guy. I guess you could put Lavals in that category too. And then, you know, like New Age, Blue Eyes decks, I think that they can all run this guy successfully. Now, investing 10 stars into a monster that dies to a simple Mirror Force would be pretty shitty in my book. Luckily, this guy at least attempts to pay you back when he dies. And since nobody runs Macrocosmos because, you know, well, Dragon Rulers pretty much eat that shit up, this card should go to the graveyard pretty much every single time it dies. From that point, you just have to wait for it to summon a bunch of your materials right back to the field and just, you know, rinse, wash, and repeat the entire process. You know, assuming your opponent doesn't use something like Solemn Warning or Dark Hole to counter your play, I mean, you could essentially just make this guy the very next turn. And even if your opponent does, you know, use Dark Hole main phase 2, or, you know, they counter with like Warning, maybe they ran your guy over in battle, you know, at least you know that you made them burn a limited power card. This guy should be at least 3,000 every single time you summon it. If not, I wouldn't even bother, you know, expending all the resources into the card. And the fact that it's going to be pretty much a minimum of 3K kind of ensures that it's going to be incredibly difficult for not only your opponent to run over this card to begin with, but then clear your board in that same battle phase of all the monsters that he summons back. I mean, that's going to be pretty damn hard. And if you have 4 cards in hand, which isn't exactly hard to do in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now you're looking at a card that could potentially end games in 1 or 2 turns, you know, let alone the fact that if you attack into a Mirror Force or something like that, if somehow your opponent summons like a Catastrophe or uses Honest, I mean, he's just going to summon a bunch of his friends back and you're going to be able to make another one. So it's like, how many Honestes do you have in your deck? Like, how many Catastrophes do you really have? So overall, I think that this card is solid. I think that it does have a lot of potential, especially in like tier 2.5 decks. Competitively, we'll have to see when this card rolls around, but you know, I definitely like the fact that we're getting more high level synchros. The second card I want to talk about is number 48, Shadow Lich. It's a dark zombie XC monster. It's rank 3, 1800 attack, 0 defense. I don't know why Konami is so obsessed with 0 defense zombies. Zombie monster what? It requires 2 level 3 monsters to summon, so it's generic, and the effect says once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can activate this effect by removing 1 Xyz Material from this card, special summon question mark Phantom tokens to your field. Also, while you control a Phantom token, your opponent cannot select this card as a target. This card gains 500 attack for each Phantom token you control. Phantom tokens are Fiend, Dark, level 3 monsters with 500 attack, 500 defense, so it's a zombie that summons fiends. I don't think we have that many of those. Okay, so Shadow Lich is a really interesting card, and I know people say that so much that it almost becomes white noise, but literally Shadow Lich is walking the tightrope of completely meh and oh my god broken. Like, if Shadow Lich summons 2 tokens, like, this shit is real. I mean, this guy will basically become Dracostack Jr. Like, literally, your opponent will go to their turn, you'll detach, activate his effect, and he'll become a 2800 beater. You won't be able to attack him unless you kill the 2 tokens first. So basically, he has 2 bodyguards on the field. And even if you somehow kill both of my tokens and Shadow Lich, like, you probably had to overextend to do it. And all I used was a simple tour guide to put it on the board. So if it dies, it's like no big deal. Like, the end result I see with this card is it's a monster that's going to be incredibly easy to summon that puts an incredible amount of pressure on your opponent without basically any risk. You know, this guy basically, I mean, if you don't have an answer, this guy would be able to attack if you get 2 tokens for 3,800 by himself. You know, you detach, get 2 tokens, he's 2,800, and then during your turn you attack with everything. Now, if Shadow Lich only summons 1 token, then the card is just completely mad. Like, and I say that because the entire pacing of the card would change. You know, if you have 1 token on field, I mean, pretty much any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Can kill 1 token, and then your Shadow Lich is just an 1,800 monster sitting there looking stupid. And even if your Shadow Lich lives that turn, and you activate it again on my turn, I just run your token over, and now you just have a vanilla 1,800 that's not really threatening anybody. But being able to potentially have a 2,800 guy who you probably won't be able to attack that turn because he's got 2 tokens as his bodyguard, like, that shit is real. I mean, this card is one that we're definitely going to have to keep our eyes on. I don't want to say, you know, whether I think this card is good or bad right now, because it literally is... It's up in the air. I mean, if it's 2 tokens, this shit is just going to be fantastic. Like, Tour Guide basically is going to become broken again because this card's going to be so fucking good. So let me know what you guys think of these 2 cards. I think it's interesting that they are bringing back more generic Xyz, Tour Guide would, and then obviously high-level dragons. I think that really has to do with Blue Eye support and whatnot. Thank you guys for watching as always, and take care. Subscribing makes life happy.